What's up, Kathleen?
Hi, John. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course. Thank you for calling.
My husband was diagnosed with CPTSD.
Yep.
He went to therapy. He fell in love with his therapist. She fell in love with him, and then it was pulled from underneath her because it got too, relationship. You can't do that with a therapist.
No. Hold on. How'd this happen? What happened?
He went to therapy, and over time, they both just had a connection. There was no therapy actually done in the 4 months he was seeing her. So how do I cope with his CPTSD that he was diagnosed with years ago, and the fact that he fell in love with his therapist, and he, to this day, head over heels, like it was like a bad breakup. Like he talks about her in his sleep. Like,
oh man, what a mess on several fronts. How did this relationship come to light?
It was pulled, like, she wasn't a fully licensed. She had a supervisor, and they pulled it out from her.
So the supervisor caught it?
Yeah. And she had feelings for him. There was flirting going on, and there was joking. And he said there was really, once you look back on it, he goes, there was really no therapy. But he fell hard for her.
Have you talked with the supervisor?
I have not.
I don't believe his story. I do believe, like, the number one no-no in all of therapy is you don't have intimate or physical or any kind of relationship. The therapist I see now, if I was to see her in the grocery store, and we talked about this at the first meeting, I would have to say hi to her first. She'll walk right by me.
Oh, yeah.
Because the anonymity is the cornerstone. You can't do it without that level of trust. And therapy is intimate and vulnerable, and you say things out loud that you've never told anybody else. And if somebody's a good listener and a warm, receptive person, then yeah, it's easy to get all tangled up in feelings, but that's the therapist's job, right? To hold that distance. Clearly, that may not have happened here. But there's something that's not ringing true with the story. And what I would do if there's a part 2 to this, which is how to deal with his infatuation with her. But I would request a meeting with, tell him he wants to meet with the supervisor and request that you come along.
Okay. And
ask to hear the whole story from the supervisor's perspective, because there's something I'm not buying it. Do clients sleep with their therapist? Absolutely. The therapists lose their license all the time for that? Absolutely. So does it happen? Yes. But this idea that there was no therapy and she was just, there's something I'm not buying.
Okay.
It sounds like I'm completely making up a story here, okay? It feels like that he may have had a great relationship or great interaction with her, or felt comfortable talking to her in a way that he does not feel comfortable talking to you.
Yep.
And depending on what his TSD is or what it roots from, he might take the feeling of comfort as a feeling of intimacy and love that he does not have with you. So a good therapist would say, hey, the way they practice that interaction so he can take that home to you. And then if you are cold or hard or mean to him or whatever, or exhausted or tired, then y'all go to therapy together to practice that interaction together.
Okay. Yep.
But I almost wonder if he is coming up with a story to give him the ability to create distance with you, because he doesn't have the courage to say he's not okay in this relationship right now. Is that plausible?
Yeah, I never thought of it like that.
I can't imagine that the supervisor would not have called him in for a meeting, talked through all the things that happened, sent him directly to another therapist, gone through he would have all that stuff.
Yeah.
And for him just to say, like, no, we called it, I'm not, there's something, it's just fishy.
Yeah.
One of my supervisors was on the board of one of the licensure agencies. That's just not how I hear it work. I could be completely wrong, Kathleen. Okay, something's fishy. You have to go through him, but I would get in touch with the supervisor. And so you can hear the story, get the full picture of what's going on here. Part 2 is none of that really matters. What matters is your husband has told you he's infatuated, in love, has feelings for somebody else. That's what you have to deal with. All this other stuff is a distraction.
Yeah.
How, why, was it at work? Was it my therapist? Was it the lifeguard? Was it somebody at a restaurant? Like, doesn't matter. Your husband's looked at you and said, I have feelings for somebody else, not you.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
That's tough. You know, I mean, we've been together 16 years, married 13. He says if it was outside of therapy, it wouldn't have happened because he went in looking for help and he became vulnerable because therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how to deal with that.
Well, make no mistake. It's a both and here. He's a grown man who makes choices. And if his story is 100% true, which it might be, he was absolutely taken advantage of.
Yep.
So both things are true. And you can find yourself talking to a therapist. And like, so one of the things I would teach my grad students is you may have to ask about like a common question when you're talking about marriage issues. How often are y'all intimate? How often do y'all sleep together? I asked that question on this show, right? But I'm asking for data. I'm asking for a data point. I don't take the next question, which is, so how is it? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's your favorite positions? What's your favorite moves? What's your favorite, like, what are things she doesn't like? Oh, I would love that. See what I'm saying? Now we're in a totally different relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And so I can imagine a guy with complex PTSD who is trying to figure out how to, his nervous system to feel safe enough to do relationships. I can imagine him just answering the questions before him, and you get a voyeuristic grad student who just drags him underwater. I could see that happening.
Yeah.
And also, the moment he says, I'm in love with her, is the moment as a grown man he has to say, I don't know what kind of relationship this is, but it's too far. So it's both and, right? Yeah. What I'm more concerned about is the aftermath, because he has continued. He doesn't see her anymore. Is that correct?
Correct.
Does he not text her, call her, email her?
Nothing.
Are you certain?
As far as I know, yes.
What does that mean?
I mean, he says he's not, but...
Yeah, that works out good.
And he's talking to another therapist about it.
Okay. So, do you want to stay married to this guy?
I do.
Does he know that?
Yes.
Does he want to stay married to you?
Not sure.
Okay. You need to get an answer to that question.
I've asked him, and he said he's not sure because he doesn't know who he is, because he's trying to figure out who he is.
Yeah, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. We only find out who we actually are in relationship. That other stuff is postmodern nonsense. Like, I got to find me, and you just wait here patiently while I find me. That's stupid. He can only truly find himself when he's anchored into you. Y'all been married for 15 or 16. I mean, y'all been together for 16 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. We have a daughter together.
Of course. So let me say this. He may be all twisted up. What's his PTSD from?
His mom, his dad wasn't really around, and when he did see his dad, there was a lot of drug paraphernalia around. His mother was here, but not really here. He had to fend for himself and do things on his own, even from a young age.
Okay, but that's not sexual abuse, or I mean, that's trauma. That's not good, but that's not. Yeah, I'm just gonna be honest with you, Kathleen. There's a part of the story that just doesn't. The puzzle pieces aren't fitting together.
Okay.
I don't know that he's telling you the truth.
Okay.
And beyond that, you have to own reality, right? You have to choose reality. You can want to stay married to him. You can want to love him. And if he doesn't want to stay married to you, he can do that.
Yeah.
And that's not the world you chose. That's not the world you want. But if you want to heal this marriage, you have to get in the mud with him and help him rebuild. because y'all got to build something new.
Yep.
But you have to take it takes both of you to do it.
Okay.
Here's how I would start that conversation. I would actually take him out. And maybe you want to go on the expedition with talking to his original therapist and yada, yada, yada. That seems to be a secondary matter here. The real issue is you don't trust him, but you do love him. And you want to be sensitive to his whatever diagnostics he has. But also, he needs to be a grown man and treat you with dignity and respect. You're his wife, for God's sakes. And any anger or rage you have that comes out on him that makes the house cold, you got to deal with that from you, right?
Yep.
Do you get angry? You get frustrated? Do you get mad?
Sometimes, yeah. But I'm trying to.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. We had like we've been together, but we really haven't been together because for the last 10 years we've been like together, but like he's been so cold and put walls up because when he gets close to somebody, he puts walls up, and that's a whole nother intro of our marriage.
Have y'all gone to marriage counseling together?
No.
Okay, y'all need to do that ASAP.
Okay.
I think your marriage is on life support and you don't even know it. I actually wonder if your marriage is over and y'all just haven't called it yet.
Okay.
It sounds like he left you a long time ago. He just sleeps in the same bed still.
Yep.
And as a part of the healing process, the regaining trust process, when somebody says, I've been unfaithful to you, I have stepped out on you, etc., it's very common to say, okay, part of the rebuilding trust is hand me your phone. I want to see your emails. I want to see your phone.
Okay. Yep.
And if there's no text messages to this person, he's not back and forth, still in a relationship with this person, yada, 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 then great.
Yeah.
And if he says, you can't ever see my phone, no chance, then you need to let him know, if that's one of your stipulations, then you're not interested in saving this marriage. He's opting out.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that scare you to death?
Yes. 100%.
I wonder how long you've been avoiding that fear. And at the same time, you've kind of buried a big chunk of yourself.
Yeah.
Over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I say this all the time on the show, probably too much, but behavior is a language. What's he telling you for the last decade?
Yeah.
What is it?
That you're not here, that you don't want this.
No, use his words. What is he telling you through his actions over the last 10 years?
Nothing, because he puts up walls and he just get up, we go to work, nothing.
Okay. Are you done living like that?
Yeah.
Let him know. I want to see you fight for your marriage. And it might be a fight that you get knocked out. You might lose the fight, but I want to at least see you get in there in the ring and go for it. Take him out and say, hey, not for the last 10 years, you've been cold, No, I'm not going to do that because he's just going to build those walls back up and he's going to be gone. You'll never be able to touch him. But if you sit down and say, I want more for my life. I love you. I want you to be my husband and I want to be together. But I can't keep doing this. I want to build something brand new. I want to start dating again. I want to fall back in love with each other. Are you in? And he might look at you and say no. But the whole, I don't know, I just got to find myself, bull crap on a stick with a pony and a box of farts. It's just not a thing. I just get whatever. That's somebody who watched way too much Dawson's Creek, and I loved Dawson's Creek back in the day, but it's too much. Turn the lights off, turn the music off, stop the dance, and just say, hey, we got to talk. We got to figure out what next steps are. And hopefully he'll be a person of courage and integrity and tell you the truth. Either way. I wish you guys the best, Kathleen.